Welcome to Reflection for the Wednesday of the third week of Lent. Our first reading comes to us from Deuteronomy, so again, back to the Exodus mentality. We have Moses speaking to the people, and he's once again reminding them of the statutes and the decrees which he has taught the people to observe, which will give them the opportunity to take possession of the land which the Lord your God of your fathers is giving you. It says then, therefore, do it so that you may enter into and occupy this land, the promised land, the fulfillment of everything that God has given us, or promised to give us. Of course, ultimate fulfillment will be making it home to heaven. What we want to be mindful of, though, is that's not all that he says. He does speak of their salvation, so he's speaking to us of our salvation. But he goes on to say later on, do this so that others may say this great nation is truly a wise and intelligent people. For what great nation is there that has gods so close to it as the Lord our God is to us whenever we call upon him? It goes on a little bit more. It's not just for themselves. And this is the key. Jesus comes, and if we know this reality, they are meant to be a light to the entire world, it helps us better understand what Jesus does. Jesus says that he comes first for God's people, the chosen people, the Jewish people, the Hebrew people, and then they are called to go out to the world. Right? In our gospel today, we would have heard right about a month ago, the last Sunday before Lent, for our gospel, from the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount. The week before that, we had you are light, you're salt, city on a hill, right? You're there for other people. You're meant to guide other people into relationship with God. The problem is in the Old Testament, they never did that. They stayed as an isolated people, and they even broke themselves apart and were isolated within their own family. They become the enemies with one another as the tribes split apart. So a lot of the tension is just within, supposed to be, the own family. And so what Moses is saying is, now that we're moving into the direction of the promised land, now that we're coming to the time of fulfillment, this is meant for everybody. And if you guys live well, the way in which you live will become an invitation for others. They'll see that you live differently. They'll see that God gives you blessing, that God graces you. Now, of course, you know that we're still called to carry the cross and all the things that go along with that. But we really want to pray with, again, our Christian life is not just for us, but it's for the entire world. Not one that we're bragging about, as we heard about at the beginning of our Lenten season. But just by doing what we're supposed to do, working our relationship with God, grace is going to flow from us into people around us, all by God's action. But the important thing is, with all of that in mind, we have to make sure we stay the course. And that's one of the important things of our Lenten season. That's why it's good every year we come back, as we started this season, looking at the basics, looking at the foundation of our Christian life. He finishes by saying, however, take care and be earnestly on your guard, not to forget the things which your own eye have seen, not to forget the miracles, the plagues, all of the signs and wonders that God has worked to get us to here. Nor let them slip from memory as long as you live, but teach them to your children and to your children's children. A couple of very important things here. One is we can lose sight. Salvation is not guaranteed to us. We might live the first 40, 50, 60 years of our life for God. If we rebel, we turn our back against him, and we say, I don't want you anymore, God will respect that. Right? We see that theme over and over again. We have to choose God with the entirety of our life. Now, the merciful part is if we failed to choose God for the first 80 years of our life, and on 80 years and 3 days we're going to die, and with only minutes to go, we have a conversion, we open ourselves up to God's grace, we can be saved. But we don't want to play the game of waiting for that. Right? If you're watching these videos, you're probably not in that boat. But we want to realize that this is something we can lose if we don't protect it and defend it. Satan wants to pull us away from this. And a part of what Moses tells us is we stay on path by following the law. What many of our brothers and sisters have heard is that when Jesus comes, all of the Old Testament is gone, and all we have to do is be nice to everybody. Right? You hear me preach on this over and over again because this is what has been crammed down our throats. This is what I was taught when I was growing up inside the church. Just be nice to everybody. This is what the world tells the church that she's supposed to be. We hear this all the time from the political people, from the different activists in the world. Just be nice to people, which of course we're supposed to be nice, but it's a niceness rooted in the love of God. The same niceness that Jesus goes in, and we're told time and time again, they were furious. We just heard that a couple of days ago. They're ready to kill him because he said, you guys aren't trusting. You're not believing. He's doing that in kindness and mercy and compassion. He's saying, Please listen. He's not saying, I'm holding this against you so I can smite you, or my father can send down lightning bolts on you. He says, I want you to receive what I'm trying to give you. Right? It's rooted in love. It's rooted in mercy. That's what we are called to do. And Jesus today in the gospel, again, this is the beginning of Matthew's gospel, the beginning of the Sermon on the Mount, the first teaching moment of Jesus, which goes on for 3 chapters. The early church saw this as the catechism of the church, of what all Christians believe. This is where they went for their short summary of what it meant to be a Christian. And in the opening verses, he says, do not think that I came to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill. Take them to a higher level. Now, some of the laws, and God himself said this, were there for temporary measure, and some of them were called to pass away. They were called to get us ready for the fullness. But the important things of a relationship with God, we have to fulfill. Those don't go away, and Jesus makes that very clear. It's not a church making that up. That's not a priest making it up. That's literally the words that Jesus himself spoke. Matthew heard, Matthew wrote down. We want to take these words seriously. We're about coming up on the halfway point of our Lenten season. Maybe we're starting to grow a little bit weary. A great time to let these readings challenge us, to recommit ourselves to making sure that we persevere to the end, that we finish strong. Maybe you've stumbled quite a bit along the way. That's okay. Today's a great day to pick yourself back up, to ask God for the mercy to get us going back in the direction of grace. God bless.